Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphan Last, aka Skylar Madison, and today I'm actually going to be working on the Patreon drawing request video of the month. This is actually going to be the last Patreon drawing request video that I'm ever going to do. It's becoming too much of a hassle, where I feel like I'm annoying my patrons, the people that I definitely don't want to irritate, every single month, asking them, what do you want me to draw? And then I just kind of sort of get a little bit of feedback on that. And so this is the last Patreon drawing request I'm going to do. In the future, I'm just going to draw an image for my patrons and share the full resolution image with them. So for this video, we're going to go to general. Now, some of the reason why this is the last patron drawing request video is because ultimately I'm going to make the same exact background that I did in the last Blender video, but this time around instead of the general sort of interface. Okay, and so there's a couple things that are different about the general interface. When you press 0, you'll notice that the camera is pointed kind of downward at the scene. Okay, so it's not like at a perfect right angle at the scene or anything like that, but that's fine. You could delete the camera, create a new camera, move the camera. You can do anything you want, and there is also a light source here. Now, you can still work with a grease pencil. You just go into object mode, click add, and add a grease pencil blank. Okay, and with this, you get a collection, grease pencil blank. Now, if I were to select the camera on the collections and go here, we just have object mode. Okay, if I select the grease pencil, obviously I have draw mode here now. Okay, so if you have like, let's say add mesh, let's say a plane. Okay, so now we have a plane here. Now, with the plane selected inside of our scene here and inside of the collections, you'll see that, there's sculpt mode, but there is no draw mode. Okay, you have to make sure that draw mode is like you have your grease pencil selected and then draw mode appears, and then you're able to draw with grease pencil no problem. So yeah, it's the exact same interface. It's just, things just look a little bit different. On the 2D interface, trying to work with 3D, it's a little bit of a pain in the butt because everything that you make winds up blending in perfectly with the white background. So this is why I'm working this way. Okay, so let's go into object mode and select this thing. And I'm just going to go ahead and scale it up a bit, just like that. And that looks good. And next, what I'm going to do is I am going to press Control and 5. Okay, and what that does, let me go ahead and press Control Z real quick. Let's press Z and then click on wireframe. Okay, we got that. If we press Control and 5, you'll see that it's just added a whole bunch of polygons, a whole topology to this plane, which is kind of cool. And so if we go into the modifiers, you'll see that we have we have this here. It's the equivalent of me going add modifier and going to subdivision surface, okay? And, if I were to tick a bunch of these and move them around, you can see that, I'm adding a heck of a lot more topology to the scene. Right now, I don't really feel like I need to do that too much, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that extra modifier. And I'm going to click apply so that it's not just, I don't know, kind of non-destructive-ish. Now it's destructive. The object is, to a fault, absolutely received this topology here. Okay, let me press Z again and look at everything solid. Alright, and I kind of want to go up here, and instead of edit mode, I want to select like about a quarter of my nodes here, and then I'm just going to press E to extrude it. Okay, so we don't have very many polygons going on through this extrusion, but that's fine for right now. Alright, let's go into sculpting, and the sculpting mode is kind of cool. Now, on the side here, with the context, with the active tool and workspace settings, make sure that with that ticked up here, we click on Dino Topo, okay? We click on it, we get this little thingamajig here that gives you a warning. Dino Topo will not preserve vertex color colors, UVs, or other custom data. Okay, cool. Alright, and I want to switch relative detail to constant detail, and I want to kind of ramp the resolution up right now. Let's say 60 sounds good for me. I have a pretty powerful computer, so if that's just too much for your computer to handle, then consider a different number, possibly a lower number. And so what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start trying to, yeah, you see that? Let me go into the wireframe mode. Like, you see how with the Dino Topo turned on, it's adding all of this topology. And I don't necessarily need it to add that much for right now, that many, but it is convenient that I'm able to quickly add all of that topology. One thing that's kind of irritating me at the moment, let me press Control Z a bunch of times, okay? One thing that's kind of irritating me is that if I draw something or start sculpting something over here, it's sculpting it over here. So we need to change that, and I'm going to press Control Z real quick, and sculpt, it says symmetry X. Let's turn that off, and so now I could go ahead and start sculpting, and there's no duplicate sculpt going on. Maybe 60 is too high. It's just kind of lagging out a little bit on me. And let me go ahead and just make my brush a bit smaller. And let's go ahead and get into this. Okay, so I kind of need to remake the exact same scene that I had going on in the previous video in this series, where in the past I was just kind of creating in 2D a specific scene that I really liked, but I didn't actually save it in 2D. So I'm just gonna kind of quickly kind of sketch this out so that it kind of looks like a natural rock face to some extent. Not 100%, but like you could play around with the tools and see if you can get a rock face sort of texture pretty quick if you want. And I'm not going for anything too exact, to be honest. I just want to get the general sort of shaping of everything to work for me. Alright, so I've kind of created this rock face here, and I like the way that it's looking. It's not like earth-shatteringly amazing, but it's well enough for a sketch. So in the last video on Blender, I had a little mound here, kind of like that, and while I'm at it, I might as well kind of put in some irregularity into the background, trying to treat this a little bit as if this were to become a comic book and I needed multiple panels with the background, I have some stuff that can help with the equilibrium that you need for each panel that I might need. Okay, so that's where the palm tree is going to be. Alright, cool. So now it's time to make the building that we had last time. By and large, I'm going to try to be somewhat loyal to it. So I'm going to go back into Layout, the Layout tab up here, and we can just see everything that we've done. And let's go ahead and go into object mode, make sure we're in object mode, add mesh, and add a cube. Now the cube's going to be right there, okay? So I'm just going to grab it and place it up here, kind of move it around. Okay, cool. I'm going to scale it, grab it, move it. Cool beans. So now I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to select this face here. Like, there's this button, face select, edge select, and vertice or vertex select. I want to select faces. I'm going to select this face, and I'm just going to grab it, and on the x-axis I'm just going to extrude it just a little bit. Awesome, that looks good. And I want to kind of do some loop cuts on this thing. For example, I want to just kind of cut one right there vertically, and you know what, actually let me press Control Z a few times. I'm gonna click once, and then you'll see that this loop cut and slide, we can kind of control how many cuts are distributed throughout this. So I'm gonna say 3, that looks good. And I'm gonna click again, and I'm gonna say, you know what, 4 looks just about right to me. So now I'm gonna scroll up, get the selection box, and make sure that faces are selectable. And I'm just going to grab them, and on the y-axis. Ooh, that did not work out very well. Okay, let's see. Let's grab these and extrude them. Yeah, that looks good. Let's extrude it just like that. That looks excellent. So now we kind of have a window right there. But it does look a little bit obnoxiously large. So I'm going to go back to the loop cut, and I'm just going to cut one here, cut one here, and here, and here. That looks good, and we'll see how that looks in just a moment. Let's try something like that. Press E and move it back just a bit. That looks good. Okay, now here's something that a lot of people don't realize. There's usually a slope here. So that's something that I'm going to be working on in just a sec. I'm going to make another cut, and I'm just going to kind of thin it out a bit. About that big. That looks good. And I'm going to do another cut to the left, and then another cut to the right. Approximately the same size. I mean, I could be doing some measurements, but I'm fine doing it the way I'm doing it. So I'm going to select these faces here, and I'm going to press E to extrude them, and that looks good. Let me go ahead and just try something really quick here. I'm not quite sure how well it's going to work out, but we'll see. Okay, we'll select edges, and so now I'm able to select these edges here. One second, let me go back to faces. Let me press Ctrl Z a bunch of times. Okay, there's one thing that did not work out properly. I need to select this face and extrude it about an inch, inch and a half-ish is what it's supposed to look like in the grand scheme of the building, okay? And so this is kind of a windowsill or a capstone of some sort, okay? And so we're going to grab these edges right through here, and let's see what happens when we grab them. Oh, that's cool. Alright, okay, so I've gone ahead and grabbed them and moved them down, and that's created a bit of a slope. And that's kind of what we were after. I'm going to grab these edges as well. It's something that's kind of bothering me just a little bit. And I'm just going to grab it and make it seem like it's a flat object that's kind of been moved to kind of diagonal. And so that's if rain gets in here and the slope causes the rain to kind of fall away from the window. So that's the reason for all of that. So as I see it, there should be some a lintel up here, but what I need is I need to have more going on up here. So I'm going to select the loop cut again, and you know, a nice big lintel always looks appealing to me. So get face selection. I'm just going to select all of these faces, and I am going to extrude them out just like that, and there we have it. We have a little something that kind of looks like a lintel, and that's cool. We got that. Alright, so now I'm going to go into object mode, select this, and press Shift D, and on the X-axis I'm just going to move it on over. No, actually I'm going to delete the thing that I copied there. Okay, so now in object mode I'm going to click Add Mesh Cube. Okay, and so here's the cube. Let me press 1 and grab it, get it up to the height that I need it. And I'm going to scale it down. I don't want it to be quite as tall as the other side. At least, you know, I don't really care if it's the same size. And now I'm just going to go ahead and place it right there. And I'm going to go into edit mode and select this face and press 3. And I'm just going to grab that face and on the y-axis kind of extrude it to being kind of collinear, I guess, to some extent from this vantage point, or just like on the same plane. That looks good to me. And yeah, I kind of feel like I should extrude or grab on the x-axis this here, and that's awesome. So the only thing that is bothering me now is, let me go into object mode, grab it, and on the x-axis move it over. Awesome. Okay, grab x-axis. Yeah, okay, so just like that. Alright, so there's something that I want to do here, and it's called doing Boolean functions. Okay, So let me show you what a Boolean function is. Let me go into edit mode, or no, object mode. I have to be in object mode, and I need to add an object, add a mesh, and let me go ahead and just add a UV sphere. Okay, so I'm going to grab it and move it up just like that, and then I'm going to add another object, mesh. And let's just add a cone. Let's go ahead and move the cone up and into the personal space of this sphere, okay? Now I'm going to grab this sphere, and inside of the modifiers tab, I'm going to add modifier, Boolean function. I'm going to use the eyedropper and use it on this cone, okay? And at first glance, it doesn't look like anything's changed, but as I rotate the orange selection silhouette, it doesn't look like a true sphere. And let me go ahead and show you why. If I select this cone here, we can see it in the collections. Let me go ahead and deactivate it, and we can see that the sphere has the shape of the cone inside of it. So the Boolean function just kind of subtracted it. But the cone still exists. Now we can actually select the cone and just press delete if we want, but we need to first kind of grab the sphere and click apply. Now the cone still exists. We select it and then we go delete, and we can see that those the changes are permanent. There's this cone shape that's been subtracted out of this sphere. So I think that's cool. So in the last video inside of this, my Blender work, you saw me create these arches in 3D, just kind of sketching it out in 2D. Now I guess this gives me an opportunity to kind of talk about how to do all of that in 3D. So what I'm going to do is I am going to add a cube first, and I am going to scale it down quite a bit. I'm going to press 1 to get it to the, I don't know, just the size, I guess, that I want. And then I'm going to press 3 and try to get it into position here. Okay, so that's good. Let me go ahead and scale it up a bit. Okay, that looks good. Let me press 1 and see if I can kind of get it more accurately in the size and the shape that I want it to be at. Let me go ahead and just go into edit mode and select this face, press 1, and I'm just going to grab it on the x-axis and kind of just ever so slightly have it intrude on the space. Alright, and so now I'm going to go to the back here, and I'm going to grab this face, and I'm just going to grab it and press G and then press Y and extrude it out. Okay, same thing on this face. Grab it, and on the y-axis, go ahead and extrude it out. Okay, so we got this really long, obnoxious shape. Alright, and that's fine. So we are going to now go into object mode, add mesh, and now we are going to add a cylinder, okay? And we are going to grab this cylinder, we are going to rotate it on the y-axis 90 degrees. Let's try x-axis. Yeah, on the x-axis, rotate it 90 degrees. Grab it, move it up here. Let's press 1, and let's try to get its size to match up pretty well with this big with this box, the smallest box here that's really elongated. Let's try to get it to be matching up with the edges quite well. And actually, I need to go back to this one, and I'm just going to scale it down a bit more, kind of like that. Now that I've had a chance to kind of think of this more as a Boolean function, and I just want to get it nice and kind of centered there, which kind of looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and scale this circle down and get it into position. Okay, let's press 3, and let's go ahead and grab this, and on the y-axis, just move it to the very front. I don't care if it extrudes past. And then I'm going to go into edit mode, press tab on your keyboard in order to go into edit mode. Let's go ahead and extrude, and on the y-axis, click Y, and yeah, there we have it. We have that. That looks good. Alright, so we have these two shapes, right? So let's go ahead and go into object mode, select this, add modifier, Boolean, use the eyedropper, use it on the cylinder. and then go ahead and click apply. Let's go ahead and click on that cylinder and delete it. Oops, nope. Let's press Control Z a few times. Let's go union. Okay, so that makes it so that it's one unified shape. Okay, and let's go ahead and click apply. Let's select the original object for the cylinder. Okay, you can see I just pulled the original object that I did all that work with the cylinder. It's up top right here, and I can go ahead and delete it. You need to make sure you do that, otherwise you wind up with a lot of duplicates going on. Okay, so now I want to go into object mode and add a mesh and have it be a cube. Okay, so we're going to get it right into position, and we are going to press 3 and get it into position. Awesome. We're going to go into edit mode, and we're going to select this face, and we're just going to grab it on the y-axis and thin it out. Yeah, that looks good. And now we're going to grab this face, and we're going to grab it on the x-axis, and that looks just about right. I mean, it's just ever so slightly intruding on the other bits. Grab this one, grab it on the x-axis and move it. Awesome, that looks good. And now we're going to grab the top, grab it on the z-axis, and move it down. Alright, and so that looks a lot like my original thingamajig that I did last week. Okay, let's go into object mode again. Let's press Shift D, and on the y-axis move this over here. And you know, the way I picture it, this sort of area is actually thinner, so I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm just going to give a little bit more space here for this sort of region here. And on the y-axis I'm just going to grab this face and move it in just a bit. Okay, and because if this is the front of the house, if we visualize this as the front of the house, having a bulkier archway, it just makes it look more manly. And I'm not joking about that. It makes it look manly. Okay, so let's go into object mode. We go ahead and select this archway right here, add modifier Boolean, right? And then we select this object right here. Oh, and then we use the eyedropper and we select this object right here, and then we hit apply. Okay, so that's cool. So now we go ahead and grab this one, this archway, add modifier Boolean, use the eyedropper, use it on the weird shape that I've been creating, and hit apply. Grab this cylinder and box shape that I created and delete it, and we can see we have two archways, and they match up perfectly because they came from the same object that represented negative space. So that's cool. Alright, so one thing that I want to do, I kind of want to add a little bit of a rooftop to this thing, so to this one here. So I'm going to go into object mode. I'm going to make sure I'm in object mode, add mesh, and add a cube. Okay, and so now I'm just going to grab it, move it up here. I'm going to go into edit mode, grab this face, grab it on the z-axis, and I'm going to thin it out about as thick as I would want a rooftop to be. Okay, and now I'm just going to grab it, and now I'm going to go into object mode, and I'm going to press 7, grab it, move it into position, and I don't really like how big it is, so I'm just going to scale it down, and then I'm just going to grab it right here, and yeah, okay, so that's cool. Let me go ahead and go into edit mode, grab this face, and I want to just press G and I think X. Okay, press X and that's good. Let me press 7. GX. Okay, cool. So now I'm going to go into object mode and rotate it on the y-axis and give it a little bit of a tilt so that it kind of resembles a rooftop. I'm just going to grab it and place it right here. That looks cool to me. Maybe I need to rotate on the y-axis just a little bit less because it's just a little bit too dramatic. Okay, and so now I'm just going to grab it and just rest it up top. And let me press 7, make sure that this is kind of sort of centered. Okay, so that's kind of sort of. Alright, so now we have that. Let's grab this object right here, add modifier, Boolean, eyedropper, use it on the roof, and we can see that it's kind of subtracted it a little bit, and that's cool. So I'm going to click apply, and I don't want to get rid of the rooftop shape that I've been creating, but I want to go into edit mode and I want to select the faces for the original box here and just press delete and dissolve vertices. And I think that there's maybe another face here, but I'm not 100%. There's something in there and I don't like it. I don't like how that's happening like that. Let me go ahead and go into object mode, grab this, grab on the Z-axis and move it up. Okay, so it looks like there's an edge here. So let me go into edit mode, go edge select and select that edge and delete dissolve vertices. No, delete edge, dissolve edge. Why isn't it deleting? Come on. Okay, let's go vertices. Let's select these two vertices, delete, dissolve vertices. I don't understand that. Okay, so it's not going to let me. So I'm just going to press Control Z a bunch of times until, okay, so that, it's just a minor annoyance. I'm just going to leave that there for now. Okay, so now I guess I want to have a window right here, and I also want to have kind of what looks like a driveway sort of shape going through here. And so let's see, I'm going to name this collection garage. Alright, and let me grab this collection. Okay, so this is house, let's call that that. Okay, this is roof. Alright, let's grab the next one. Okay, so that's arch 1. Okay, so this is arch 2. And we have a grease pencil layer, which we do not need right now, but that's fine. I'll leave it that way. Okay, so now I want to make sure I'm in object mode, add mesh, and I want to make another cube. Okay, I'm going to press 3, and I'm going to get it right about here. I'm going to scale it down and just keep on scaling it until it looks like it's going to fit in there quite well as a garage door. Now, garage doors tend to be pretty wide, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into edit mode, make sure it's on face select, and I'm going to grab this face, grab on the y-axis and move it on over that way, and I'm going to go do the same thing on this other side. I'm going to press 3, grab on the y-axis, and kind of eyeball it so that it looks like it's doing the same thing on either side. I'm going to go into object mode, grab this on the x-axis and move it back. Okay, and I kind of want to go back into edit mode, grab this face, and I'm going to press 1, and I'm going to press GX, and I'm just going to thin this out quite a bit. So when I press 3, we can see that it's going to fit the dimensions that we want, and we also have it being fairly thin. Okay, so that's cool. Now, what I need is another shape inside of here. So I'm going to go into object mode, select this, and press Shift D, okay, and I'm just going to right click for now in order to not move it. And so I'm going to press, let's see, 3, and I'm going to just kind of scale it down and grab it, and on the Z-axis I'm just going to move it down right. Okay, so that looks good. Let's move it. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Alright, so let's go into edit mode, and I'm on face select. Let me make sure I have the right thing selected when I go into edit mode. So we have that. Let's press 3 again. Why is it? Okay, that's it. Okay, I'm not able to see it, so I'm going to go into edit mode real quick, and I'm going to grab it on the x-axis and move it on over this ways, just like that. That looks good to me. Okay, cool. Let's press 3 and go into edit mode. Alright, and so we have, when I press 3, I can grab this face and just kind of try to get it to equal about the same distance as we see on the top here. And that looks about right. Alright, that's cool. So now I'm going to go into object mode, grab it on the x-axis, and with this specific object, I want to do something very, very specific. Okay, I want to go into edit mode, and I want to do loop cuts. Okay, and so right here, I go ahead and create one loop cut that's horizontal, and number of cuts, I want there to be a decent number of them. Okay, so excellent. Let's keep that just the way it is, and let's go into edit mode. Let's see, let's select, and we are on face selection, and I'm going to select every other one. Okay, cool. So now this allows me to be able to just kind of view things almost on a side view real quick here, and it's having difficulty trying to get me to navigate where I want to navigate, but I'll get there. Okay, so we're gonna grab it on, just press G and X, and ooh, okay, so let's go extrude. Let's extrude these. That works. E, and on the X-axis. Okay, so we got that going on, and then there should be a bevel. Yeah, bevel. Let's do that. Okay, and let's see what happens. Okay, so a little bit too much happens. Let me go edge select. Okay. And I'm going to select the outward faces. Let me go into grab it on the X-axis and move it out a ways. I'm having difficulty trying to navigate. I can't even get close to this thing. Let me press 5. Maybe that might help. I press 5 on the numpad and it goes into orthographic mode. Alright, so that seems to be working out a lot better. Alright, so now, inside of edit mode, I should be able to select these frontmost edges. Okay, let's try that Boolean function, the bevel function, one more time. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that looks kind of interesting. So now, things aren't exactly the way that I want them to be, but let's take a look here. Now I want to select some faces that are more so inset, okay? The inset faces, so or lines. So I'm going to try to get to an angle where I could see all that. Okay, so now we're going to try to do the bevel thing. We're going to see what that looks like. Okay, it seems to have done some strangeness, but I'm okay with it. Okay. And so now, it kind of looks a little bit like a garage door. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into object mode. I'm going to grab it on the X-axis, and it's going to match up just fine. I'm going to press 5 on my numpad to bring back the perspective view. And I don't know why it's still having such massive problems, but it kind of is. Alright, so I'm going to grab it and move it on the X-axis so that it kind of intrudes on the space of the original shape there. Okay, and so now I'm going to grab this original shape, add modifier, Boolean, use the eyedropper, use it on this shape of the garage door, and click apply. And I'm going to select the garage door and I'm going to delete it. And so that's what we've created. We've created a pretty convincing garage door, actually. And so now I'm gonna grab this, grab it on the X-axis, and I'm just going to have it kind of intersect with the building. And I think it looks stinking good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the building right here, the garage region. And I'm going to add a Boolean modifier, use the eyedropper, use it on the garage door, and instead of difference I'm going to go union and apply. And then I'm going to select the original garage door, let me grab it and move it out, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. So we now have a really good looking house here. We still need to make this window here that I kind of enjoy. So what I'm thinking about doing is, let's see, I kind of like square shapes, so I'm going to go into edit mode. I'm going to do loop cuts on this. Well, object mode, oh yeah, okay. Edit mode, loop cut should work. And yet the loop cut didn't work on this face. Why is that? Let's go wireframe, okay, Control Z. Alright, so if the loop cut's not gonna work, I'm gonna have to use a Boolean function. So I'm going to work on that, I guess. But it is still kind of interesting. Alright, so I don't know. I don't really feel like I need to add those windows. I think it looks good already as it is. So I'm going to go ahead and create a cylinder. So let's go into object mode, add mesh cylinder. Okay, we're going to scale it down, go into edit mode, and go into face selection. And if I can get close enough to it, I'll select the face that I want. Alright, that's cool. Alright, and then we're just going to extrude it. Well, no, let's just grab it on the y-axis or z-axis and get it up to about right there. That looks good. And I kind of want to scale this down like so. And that kind of makes it look a little bit like a palm tree a little bit. And let's do some loop cuts. Let's go ahead and chop it and then just dial up the number of cuts a whole bunch. Alright, that looks good. And so this is kind of the equivalent of adding the modifier and doing the whole subdivision surface. It's kind of similar to that. I just added a whole bunch of geometry to this object. And so let's go into sculpting mode. Yeah, that looks good. And let's see. Am I able to? Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so go into sculpt mode here. The only thing that I'll be able to edit right now is this cylinder that I've created. And the reason for that is because I selected it inside of object mode. And so let's see. Let's see if I can somehow use this nudge tool in some way that might be able to help me. Okay, so that's not working. How would I go about giving it a bend? That's the question. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just screwing it up. Alright, let's go back into object mode and go into layout mode. I'm not liking that at all, so I'm gonna delete that and start over with that. Okay, so that's where I'm going to end it for this video. For those of you that are the patrons, I didn't get to finish the Patreon drawing request image for the week. However, what you guys are going to be getting for this month, full resolution image, is going to be this image right here that I created. So for those of you that want to have this image, just go to my Patreon. A link is in my video description below, and you can go ahead and get this image at full resolution by the time that I post this online. And for those of you that are already very talented with Blender, if you know a way how I can go ahead and give this a bit of an arc, let me go ahead and tell you what I mean, or show you what I mean. Let me go to the grease pencil layer and go into draw mode. If you know of a way how to get this this tree, instead of it being like just straight up and down like that, if you know of a way where I could get it to curve like that, then that would be much appreciated. I don't plan on making any 3D sort of leaves or anything. I'm thinking about just having grease pencils objects as leaves and calling that good. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Anyways, guys, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you guys would like to get more notifications from me, feel free to click on the bell, or go ahead and follow me on Twitter if you'd like to participate with my community. There's a link to my Discord in the video description below. If you'd like to support my channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the upper right corner of the screen. It's a picture of my mascot in the upper right corner of the screen. Any support would be much appreciated, and if you'd like to see more of my content, feel free to click on anything that's appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.